You're watching my favorite YouTube channel, Chillmonger with Hot Takes Tuesdays. Welcome, Nerdman, to the little video here. Okay, we've been following this and being super fair, never alleging, but also being quite aware of discrimination that is gonna pop up in times like this. Me and Nerdman, along with K Dot, very alert, sensible. Okay, we know that there's a video, or they say there's a video in the taxi cab in New York. Someone who lived in New York, I remember, was telling us it's a mandatory thing. All cabs have video. So until the video comes out, we know that all of this is chatter. We realize that the video will show everything, and we'll have a conversation about what the video shows. But there's been a latest development in the story coming from the lawyer of Jonathan Majors in an attempt to clean his name, to wipe himself from any blame. This will make him not guilty. This will prove his innocence. And we go to the TMZ article that is about a day old, actually, but me and Nerdman will review it. It says Jonathan Majors' lawyer shows text from alleged victim. Says woman admitted fault. That was yesterday, the 30th at 7:43 a.m. Pacific time. They never choose a flattering picture of Jonathan Majors, eh?
Yeah, I've seen worse. I've seen them do worse with black men. To be fair. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I've followed a lot of like black guys being when they get caught up in the news cycle for having done something, and the photos they choose to use of them, can be really sinister a lot of times. So this in relation to that isn't that bad, but
okay. Well, it's not Gwyneth Paltrow winning her court case pictures. There's a difference. And you notice how they always say he's the actor from Creed, right? Like, he wasn't in Quantumania. He's not going to be in an Avengers movie named after his character. But why we go to the black movie? Am I digging, or is that too much?
It's not too much. It's not too much at all. Although you could argue that Creed has been more of a success in recent times than Quantumania, so maybe that's why that's the reference. But I don't know. You'd have to like look across kind of media, because I'm always not just fascinated, but I'm also very aware of when, as I said, black guys get caught up in this news cycle. It's not to say they can't be guilty. They can't actually be guilty. But even if you are actually guilty, that doesn't mean that you ought to not be treated fairly by the media previous to you actually being proved guilty. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you should have this whole part, this period of time right now, which is about finding out the evidence, and we're just already slandering the man to no end. Not we, but some people. TMZ says Major's attorney says she has receipts regarding the assault claims against her client, text in which the alleged victim admits she's to blame and says she doesn't want the actor prosecuted. Well, okay, you told us that she recanted her statements, and I guess you wanted to prove that. Priya Chaudhry, she tells TMZ the woman in question sent a few texts to the Creed 3 actor hours after his arrest last weekend, admitting that she was the one who used physical force against him. So here are the texts. I'll read those in a second, okay?
If you could, because I can't. It will take. I can read it, but like barely. My eyesight is like.
Okay, here I cut them into chunks. So this is the whole thing, but at the top it's just this part. You can see.
But do it as you want to do it. But like,
I do want to do it this way. It is better if I do it this way.
Okay.
To the left, of course, are hers. To the right are his, because it's his phone. That's how phones work. It appears to me, and I'm guessing, that this part here that's cut off because the tablet is just so big, and it didn't have enough room to show that part. This part here says goodbye, Jonathan.
Yeah.
It says goodbye, Jonathan. All right. And that's
only I agree important. With
that. And then she goes, there's no note, just you knowing what happened. I guess we were not supposed to see that part, and that wasn't important, but it made the picture. And I think it's relevant because what he's going to say to her is, did you leave the keys? Goodbye. No, whatever her name is, which I found out what her name was. and I'm not going to use it. But
Yeah, you don't need to like.
because what if she is the victim, right? I don't want to
Yeah,
put her on blast. So that was at today at 6. What was it? It says 8:58 in the morning. He said that
today.
Well, today.
Oh, it came out today. It came out. All right. Yeah.
Today on the screenshot. So then the next thing she says is this. And this is the part that's damning. This is the part that the lawyer thought, when we reveal this, it's over. Please let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me that you won't be charged. They said they had to arrest you as protocol when they saw the injuries on me and they knew we had a fight. I'm so angry that they did. So first of all, they knew we had a fight. Uh-oh. They knew we had a fight. Not they knew I attacked you. They knew we had a fight. That sounds like it took two participants, right?
Sure.
We knew we had a fight. I'm so angry that they did, and I'm sorry you're in this position. We'll make sure nothing happens about this. Then, the biggest part right now. I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. I only just got out of the hospital. Just call me when you're out. I love you. The big part there, it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. It makes it feel like she's accepted that, well, the consequence for me grabbing a phone, reaching for the phone, is the result of my face being damaged, doesn't it?
I mean, yeah. When did she send this text?
This must have been on Saturday. Or rather, this must be Sunday morning because of the timing of it at 8:58 in the morning. Then it has to be at Sunday, I think.
So you think it was just the night, like when he was arrested and all of the news blew up?
When he had
Do you think the news had blown up? Because it's important if the news had blown up already.
Yeah, it is. It is. Because she just came back from the hospital. She only went to the hospital.
So she would have known about the news.
Yes.
I mean, look, again, presumption of innocence. That's the really important thing. I can now kind of see that. I know that there's some people who are saying like, oh, like that's what a victim would say and blah, blah, blah. Looking at just those first texts on face value, I can see that that is not an insane position.
Yeah.
But it is still an insane position to persecute him before we actually know the context of what all of that meant. I mean, who knows what she meant by that? And my other thought is, some people are quite media savvy, and she may have anticipated that she needs to write a text that somewhat, to him sounds like, oh, I'm trying to vindicate you. But, when it comes to a court of law, she can still use it and say, no, I wasn't saying, so you have to be aware of that. People are quite media savvy and know exactly how to write a text so that in a court of law, it can kind of run the way they want the narrative to run.
What if she's playing a game? What if she is just trying to say all this stuff, deliberately including the themes that that I just recognize now, where it does sound like there was a fight, which makes it sound like two equal participants, and it was my fault. Maybe she wrote those words on purpose because her lawyer said this is how you win the case, just so he responds, "Oh yeah, baby, yeah, I know we can get through this," and rather than him responding with a complete denial that actually took place. Maybe she is playing a game. Ooh, I didn't even think of that angle, but that's possible as well. The next text she sends is "I love you" right underneath the
because there might be a part of her is like, oh, I want to get back together with him, but he's on the verge of breaking up with me, and I can use this because I can be like, like the lawyer, her lawyer is just thinking, oh, this is a way to win the case, but to her, she's like, oh, I can use this to win him back, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, because this is like almost a hanging threat over him, like in a way. But
the next text, after she says that I love you, later in the night or evening at 9:32. So remember, she sent these first ones here. These were at 6 p.m. Let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me you won't be charged. Then she tries.
And he didn't write anything back to her.
No, he doesn't write a single thing. If you guys can see here, the last thing he says to her is goodbye. All right. So the bottom chunk that I'm gonna read right now is, they just called again to check on me, and I reiterated how this was not an attack. First of all, they just called you again at 9:30. Really? Those are business hours. 9:30? That's fishy. But she says, and I reiterated how this was not an attack, and they do not have my blessing on any charges being placed. I read the paper they gave me about strangulation, and I said point blank, this did not occur and should be removed immediately. That sounds pretty good.
Okay, that sounds more definitive than
you know what I mean? Like, that's a good thing to hear, the strangulation. And I wonder how that alleged markings got there.
Yeah.
The police say the markings were there, so I mean, like, they wouldn't charge you for strangulation if the police couldn't, verify that there were markings there. So maybe she did it self-imposed, so strangulation.
Well, there's, like, again, if you're in a scuffle, she's trying to hit you.
I want to reenact it. I want to get into that right after this topic, because I am going to have to play it out the way that you want to go right now. It says here, the judge is definitely going to be told this. She ensured this to me. I know you have the best team. Whoa. And there's nothing to worry about. I just want you to know that I'm doing all I can on my end. I also said to tell the judge to know that the origin of the call was to do with me collapsing and passing out, and your worry as my partner due to our communication prior out of care. She promised all will be relayed. And as you can see, Majors does not reply, or he does reply and they simply deleted the text messages, because you can do that on an iPhone. And I don't
doubt he replied. I think his lawyer would have said don't reply.
But he needs to fire his lawyer, because the doubt that she introduced by posting that, just because of the first part that I was calling out, calling it a fight, saying it was my fault because I reached over, it kind of indicates
because it's not your fault. Like, that's completely ridiculous. If somebody, if
he hits you because
if you grab someone's
phone
and he hits you or does anything to you, then the only way it's your fault in that situation is if she started hitting him. If she admits that she started like hitting the whatever, then you can go, okay, well, it was some sort of self-defense that maybe went a little bit too far.
Precisely the angle I take. Okay, Nerdman, let's pretend the video comes out. From this, assuming everything is true, assuming it was a thing over a phone that happened after some drinks in a taxi cab, they were influenced. They were he got a text from another girl. She was jealous, and he hits her. I asked you this the last time. I'll get more serious, because now it kind of does seem like a strike was made from Jonathan Majors to her, and I'm not claiming that it is a fact. I'm just saying it feels like that. I can tolerate that. I'm not Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios, as soon as there's video evidence of pow, that's it. Like, we're not going to have you anymore because too many resources are behind you. But in Chillmonger Studios, if a guy hits a girl after she's all up on him, maybe like words, insults, a little contact to your face, I understand the human reflex. I understand when someone in sports is fouled, they foul back or they get off of me. I understand someone in your personal bubble. I understand you're in a moving car.
I don't understand why. Look, not only because you're a movie star and your whole career is on the line.
I said moving car, not movie star.
No, I know. I'm talking about my position. It's nothing to do with it. But also just out of the fact of, like, just being a guy, knowing your strength, knowing, to me, unless there's a hugely violent woman, like I've seen like one woman who bit some guy's lip and like wouldn't let go, and like just horrible kind of stuff. If you're faced with something like that where you think you could be disfigured or something really bad can happen to you, then yeah, absolutely fucking fight with all your fucking might, and it's not your fault. But in general, like, I've had things where a girlfriend has been kind of hitting me. I actually got into a bit of a debate with somebody online about it, because I was like, look, it wasn't abuse, it was just
reaction.
No, I was being an asshole, not physically, but like I was being an asshole, and she got to the end of her kind of thing, and that was the only way she could express it. And it wasn't just like I was being an asshole to her, I was like harming myself, not
don't even get
harm,
into it. There's
not in any kind of way like you're thinking, but like harming myself. So what my behavior was harmful to me, and this is why she's in love with me. She's like, and I lost it and was like started hitting me, and not bang bang bang, but like kind of like that stuff. And I held her, and it was just like there's no need to take it beyond that. To me, she's not strong enough in my and didn't have the intent clearly to do some kind of significant damage. And I think most of the times when you get into that kind of weird physicality sometimes with your girlfriend, that's the situation. They're not trying to like super like attack you or something like that. And therefore I don't really understand why you would strike them. I don't understand why you would be like, oh, I'm gonna slap you or I'm gonna hit you. But I don't get that.
So
I'm not saying there's no reason to hit a woman. There's an amount. There's like, if you're like, again, doing something that can physically, how would I say, like physically disfigure, give me like bruised eyes, something that's serious, can cause serious harm, then of course you have to fight back. Yeah. But again, I always think with a certain level of restraint with a woman, because I'm not being bad unless they're like, martial arts trained, whatever. And then
she was not. She was a frail woman. I saw a photo of her. So the damage that she could possibly be doing in that taxi cab, it doesn't fit the criteria which you're setting up right now. So basically, if you see this video and you see a strike or you see what's the strangulation, then you're through with Jonathan Majors, is what you're saying?
No, I'm not through with him. I'm not saying it's not. It's more understandable than just being the attacker. Yeah, right. Like there's 3 levels to it. There's the one where you're just the person who just starts the violence and you start beating up a woman. That's terrible.
I don't think that's even what happened. I never thought that was the case. I don't think you call 911 on yourself because you did that. Like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, so I don't think that's not justifiable at all. The second level is the one I'm talking about, which I'm like, you know what? You should have a lot better judgment than that. And to me, even though maybe I would potentially be somewhat forgiving, I still think that's a pretty volatile situation to put yourself in when you've got millions of dollars invested in someone that they can't control themselves enough to be able to like ward off, their girlfriend
drunk,
having their drunk girlfriend like having a bit of a thing and just hold their hand. You know what I'm saying? Hold their hand. Hold their. You don't need to. You hold their hand. You go, calm down. Calm down. And if they really, really want to stop, walk away.
In the car, you can't. They're in a taxi. It's moving.
Yeah, but again, you can hold. You go, taxi driver, stop. I'm done with this.
That happened.
Get out.
I believe that happened. She got dropped off. She was separately dropped off. I believe that's that's what they say happened when after the tussle or whatever happened, the incident, she was dropped somewhere separately than where he was dropped off. So I think what you kind of want happened. Separated.
Yes, but there should have been no punch or slap or anything by him. Now again, this does not mean I'm saying that would make him a horrible guy or a terrible guy. I'm just saying, if I'm Hollywood whatever executive I'm thinking about this, I'm looking at this guy as a little bit volatile now. You know what I'm saying? It's like maybe you need to take a break.
And I don't want to go 3 years knowing this guy is going to be in the movie that's called Kang. It's his movie. I don't want to do that. I bet at WB, if you could tell them about Ezra Miller, do you guys want to go 3 years? Like, if you could get in a time machine and go back and say, no, listen, Walter Hamada, no, don't do a Flash movie. Don't. It gets worse from the chokeslam video. I know it was a light choke. I get it. Which you're gonna interrupt me to tell me, but it was light. It wasn't too.
No. I agree with you. I've always said that. Yeah.
I mean, no, but I think it was still enough to. Never mind. It's not the Ezra Miller discussion. We're just saying Majors should. I can see a studio discontinuing their relationship with him. Thankfully, the movie hasn't even been filmed yet. And let's get it.
Yeah, just because also there'll be so many people who aren't understanding like that. Us, they will see the bang, the hit, or the
and then they'll
slap,
say, and they'll say it's not all acceptable, which I would agree with. Like, I would never do that. I don't see myself in that situation to where I would say, you know what, the result is to actually strike with hold back and do what you were saying earlier. Sure, and I got no problem with that. But like to actually, I'm angry now, I gotta hit you back. But I've also never been drunk before. Yeah. I've also it's just not my thing. There are gonna be people who are not gonna tolerate that, and those are potential tickets.
I mean, unless you're like blackout drunk, which is something that you can't prove, because you can do a lot of silly things when you're blackout drunk, honestly. But so that is understandable, but like, again, how are you going to convince people you were blackout drunk? You can't. And even then, some people won't care, they'll
You're
be
right.
like, because it's that whole thing of the, Jesus, the great philosopher, great teacher in some sense. No, it's like those without sin throw the first stone, it's like, that's always been one thing. I'm not religious, but I've always looked to that, and I've just been like, humanity are just hypocrites. They're complete hypocrites. They don't seem to want to afford others the just the consideration that, hey, you're human, you're fallible.
Unless you're Dana White, and what they'll do instead is they'll have the video that took place on the 31st, right before midnight, attain it, wait until January 2nd to do a live stream with you on TMZ so that you can break the story while it's being broken. Unless you're Dana White. And I'm sure Dana White gave them UFC access and sports stories and a whole bunch more is going to be breaking at TMZ thanks to the grace that they had with him. With Jonathan Majors, nope, they just put that story out. TMZ had held back nothing when it came to Majors. Let's read the TMZ article to close it, because after the the big text we just went through, in the text, Chowdhury claims the woman sent. She says how angry she was Jonathan had been handcuffed, and she adds, "We'll make sure nothing happens about this. I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone." The text exchange continued a few hours later with the woman reiterating she's pushing hard to make sure the DA doesn't charge Jonathan for the incident. And of course, the DA has seen so many domestic violence situations that the DA, and it's a woman, the DA is not going to let this thing go. I understand how the protocol would be to see this through until May, just get all the evidence gathered. And if there's an actual taxi footage video, get the taxi footage, and we can clear him, and we can get past this episode. Chowdhury says that she has turned these texts over to law enforcement. Good. As we reported, Majors was arrested for misdemeanor assault, aggravated harassment, attempted assault, and harassment. Bro, she was singing after the woman allegedly saw another woman texting him and tried to sneak a peek at his phone. Oh, there we go. There's a happy photo. And then it says here, Chowdhury told us Sunday she was already working hard to gather evidence disproving the claims, which seems to include these texts. And she believes there is also video footage from inside the vehicle where the alleged incident went down that will clear Majors. That sounds like she doesn't have the video. Read it again.
Yeah, she believes
hard to gather evidence disproving the claims, which seems to include text, and she believes there is also video footage.
And what about the taxi driver as well?
I think he gave
this is the thing. Look, in the end of the day, here's the thing. if that video never sees the light of day, and she doesn't want to press charges, the DEA is pressing charges. Is that correct? The DA, because
No.
they have the law there where for spousal abuse or for what do
It's
they
called
call it?
arraigned.
Intimate partner violence.
Domestic
They're
violence?
allowed, or domestic violence. There you go. They're allowed to press charges on behalf of the person, right?
But when it went to court to be heard and shown in front of the judge arraigned arraigned.
Arraigned.
I didn't know what this word is, but the definition is to call or bring someone before a court to answer a criminal charge. So yes, I guess that would mean the DA, because she doesn't care about it, but the DA is like, no, we're definitely gonna not let this one slide. The district attorney wants to convict him.
So but if for some reason the district attorney drops it because she feels she doesn't have a strong enough case, then I don't think it's any of our business. That's
we
the
don't
thing.
See the video.
If we don't see the video, because for whatever reason, the DA drops it. She says he didn't do anything and is adamant about that, or at least that there was it was a mutual thing. Then it's none of our business, unless he does something again. It really isn't. If they can't prosecute, the person is innocent. That's what people don't understand. Innocent until proven guilty. That means even if you've done something, you are still innocent until it is proven. That's the whole idea of that legal premise. So if they can't go anywhere with this, then leave the man alone. I'm sorry, and he may have done it, but that's the way things are. You can't assume someone's guilt, because it's unfair. Because if he didn't do it, then you are punishing him for something, and that's worse, than doing things the opposite way around.
If Nerdman, if he didn't do it at all, like no strike was made, even like a reasonable one, like I'm saying I could justify, if there was no strike made, then you should have never released this text, because of that is the fifth line. It says, "I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone." That is so damning. Like, we actually got to sit on that text until May, I think 8th, or until you guys maybe release the video if you get the taxi cab.
No, that's not good. I mean, I don't think this is but again, until this, like, you could say, I'll tell you what, they could say, and this might be a sensible business decision, that look, we're gonna hold back until we find out what happens from these proceedings.
Marvel
or whatever thing. That would be understandable. Yeah. I mean, because it cuts deep. I mean, the intimate partner violence, domestic violence, it's just a horrific thing. And then to have other people come out of the woodworks talking about how he's an abuser is kind of weird as well. He went to Yale, right?
I think so. I can check in a second.
Went to Yale Drama School. So this professor he was talking who came out and started saying things, was that a Yale professor? Because if it's a Yale professor, that's worrying.
Tim Nicolai or A.B. Allen?
I think that A.B. Allen was a director who worked with him, a theater director who worked with him. But somebody said, I think it was during that Perp, the discussion you were having earlier with Perp Minded, that a professor came out and said something. So I'm just wondering, is that a professor from Yale, or is that a professor from bumfuck nowhere and he graduated to go to Yale? Do you know what I mean? Because that makes a difference.
Majors did go to Yale, yeah, after North Carolina.
So okay, so he went to North Carolina,
then Yale,
right? Where you could have had a salty fucking professor. Like, do you know what I'm saying? But a Yale professor isn't going to be salty because, do you know what I mean? They're fucking part of like
So
one of the
somebody said
great
on
dudes.
Perp stream that a professor at the university, really?
I heard that somewhere. I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
Okay.
Let me look up.
A.B. Allen is a showrunner, a director's assistant. Maybe it's the A.B. Allen guy then. Maybe he wasn't a Yale professor. But during his school days, A.B. Allen was claiming Majors was professionally abusive. Not physical, because he would tweet a day later, when his account was private, that, no, actually, I wasn't even talking about physical violence. And plus, he never actually says Jonathan Majors' name in any of his tweets. It's corny. I don't like it at all. I hate it. Where are we now with this? I think we read the whole article. Where do you want? I want to close out with just, if you're Marvel Studios, wait it out, quiet. I know that if there's footage and it comes out that Majors has struck this woman, I know that's it, because they don't want to have to be aiding and abetting this guy, put their whole brand tarnished because of this guy. I get why they would get rid of him. But I also would forgive him if it was a reflex, or if it was coming after an excessive amount of, pounding and whatnot. But if he goes UFC on her,
Charlie Sheen got away with it. Apparently, he did that for years. Like, there was some kind of shit like that
on video.
Fights with women, not on video, but he was. It was documented quite a lot of very serious fights, throwing stuff at women. It's one of those things where I'm, again, very reluctant to just throw a black guy under the bus
without evidence, yes.
at all. And at the same time, I totally understand from a business perspective that you'd want to put things quietly on hold. Don't fucking disown him publicly, because that's bullshit. Like, what this army recruitment, why he's recruiting for the army, I don't know. I think that's
the
pretty
bloody
silly.
Yanks.
No, I'm just saying, like, recruiting for the American army as a black dude, it's just not my vibe. Like, but outside of that, forget that. That's just my own political weirdness.
I agree with your political weirdness.
Yeah, okay, good. But what were we saying? I can't remember what we were saying. But yeah, don't distance yourself from him publicly. I don't think that's necessary, but you could distance yourself until you find out the outcome, and I think that's a fair enough position to take. It's just unfortunate that what that's going to look like to the public is going to be bad, because there's already, I haven't been following what people have been saying on Twitter, but it seems like there's already a lot of defenders, but there's many people are like, yeah, this proves actually the opposite, that she was abused. It's like, it doesn't prove anything.
No, it's someone who, if you have a bias and you're getting into this with your bias, it's showing. Like, unless you're being real, like with me, I'm constantly going from she's right to he's right, and I'm going back and forth with giving with playing along as if one is the correct way. Unless you're doing that, like, you're not being real. You're not being honest with yourself. I got you muted. Hold on. Say that again.
Giving the benefit of the doubt.
That's what's happening here. And my question that I want to leave to the viewer right now, thanks for sticking by for all 35 minutes, but like, what can you tolerate? How much can you see in that video where you can go, I'm not through with Jonathan Majors? I'm not talking about if you were Marvel Studios, because I know if I'm the executive of Marvel Studios who gets to decide whether we keep or we don't keep him, I'm getting rid of him if just one strike is made, or if just an aggressive what's that? like if this happens, if this action happens with his hands on her body anywhere, I know that that's not someone that I can call an Avengers movie after, which I'm projecting to make $2 billion. I know that, but what guys? What can you tolerate? Can you say like, okay, it would need 6 shots from her, it would need a whole minute of her, it would need 10 minutes of her? Like, what needs to happen before you can even, an elbow or a, whatever it is, allegedly that he was trying to keep away the phone because girlies were messaging him. If that scenario plays out, and if we ever see the video. If we never see the video and we just go off of these texts, Marvel, keep them. It just looks kind of bad because she says, I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. That just looks bad. But don't fire
I'm curious what other people are saying, but it looks like a complicated lovers spat, and it looks to me like he's either not texting her back because his lawyer said so, or because he was like in the middle of breaking up with her because she's kind of a bit cray.
I would hope so, man. I would hope he gets on some Dr. Umar or option C, Nerdman. He did text her. He just deleted those and screenshotted these.
Yeah, it could be.
But fire your lawyer. Like that, she should not have let these out because it didn't change anyone's mind. It didn't fix anything. Go continue your research and discovery. And when you get that taxi cab video, and when he did nothing wrong, allegedly, if he did nothing wrong, as you said, and he was calling the police on her and all that, release the taxi footage on Jonathan Major's Twitter account. And
well, is that it? Is that what she was saying that proves his innocence?
She was saying this proves her innocence. Yeah, that's what it says in the TMZ article.
That really doesn't. I don't understand what she was thinking. Because
admitting that she was the one who used physical force against him.
Which she, I don't think she did she?
It did admit it, actually. Yeah, the remember the third down here, somewhere down here it said so.
Wait, let's. I read about the strangulation.
You're right.
She didn't say anything about.
Yeah, she didn't say that
physically.
She just said that it doesn't qualify as strangulation. That's what that was.
Yeah, she has not. She is not. This does not. I'm not saying it's damning towards him. It certainly would help that she's on his side from a legal standpoint in terms of the court case. It would help that she is on his side. But I don't see any real benefit other than she's like, it doesn't do what and that's the worst thing a lawyer can do, because then you lose credibility in the eyes of people, because what she put out doesn't say or do any of the things. So the three things, what was she was the one doing the physical stuff towards him, doesn't say that. He was the one who called the police, doesn't say that.
Yeah, the text doesn't admit that. Yeah.
So unless I'm missing something, is there other texts or
no? That was it. That was the text chain, and at least it shows you that she has recanted. At least it's showing her that she's team Jonathan Majors. That's what that allegedly shows. Yeah.
Well, I don't know that. Like, honestly, these people are fucking slick. Like, if they can see, like, oh, I can make some money from this. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of slick avenues this chick can go down. Because one, you've got the avenue of like, oh, I can use this to just get him back. This is a threat that hangs over him. But the other more cynical avenue is like, oh, I'll just write something that's kind of like vaguely like I'm on his side just to keep him at bay or whatever, to keep him kind of satisfied while I'm fucking plotting against him. And then I can fucking sue him and he's got money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I can sue him for like some money.
And there's also, he did it and I'm just a victim and this is my emotional roller coaster that I'm on. That's possible too. That he's guilty.
No, of course.
Yeah.
No, of course. But I just really think like everything she said there, like either she's really fucking smart or a lawyer maybe even looked at that before she wrote that.
I think
Just
her
to
lawyer.
say that because the lawyer's thinking about as well, like, oh, let's make sure he cannot have any evidence against you that where he can make charges against you.
Where
You know,
that's that. Subscribe to Chillmonger. Subscribe to Nerdman.
say what?
Subscribe
What
to
did you-
Chillmonger. Subscribe to Nerdman.
Oh yeah, and that's it. Yeah, I'm good as well.